April 22nd, 2026, 8:41 local time. The Gulf of Oman, approximately 67 nautical miles southeast of the Iranian port of Dask and 118 nautical miles northwest of the Omani coast near Ras Al Had. The morning is clear and already hot. 38 degrees Celsius at sea level. Wind 6 knots from the northwest. Sea state 1. Visibility is unlimited. The Gulf of Oman at this hour looks exactly like what it is. One of the most heavily trafficked commercial shipping corridors on Earth. A procession of container ships, bulk carriers, and tankers moving in both directions on established traffic separation lanes that channel the flow of roughly 20% of the world's traded hydrocarbons. An Arleigh Burke Flight 3 guided missile destroyer is holding a northwest heading at 18 knots, conducting a routine patrol assignment along the outer boundary of the Gulf of Oman Transit Corridor. The ship is the southernmost element of a 3-ship surface action group operating in support of Operation Sentinel. The US-led maritime security initiative that has maintained a continuous naval presence in the Gulf of Oman since 2019. The nearest formation asset is 34 nautical miles to the northeast. The ship is operating independently on the southern leg of its assigned patrol box, well inside international waters, 67 nautical miles from the nearest Iranian territorial water boundary. On the destroyer's bridge, the officer of the deck is monitoring a commercial traffic picture that contains, at this moment, 23 surface contacts within radar range. Tankers, container ships, bulk carriers. The ordinary population of the Gulf of Oman at 8:41 on an April morning. One of those contacts has been tracked since 6:14. It is a general cargo vessel of approximately 8,400 gross tons, displaying an AIS transponder signal identifying it as a Marshall Islands flagged vessel carrying a cargo of industrial equipment from Dubai to Karachi. Its course and speed, 12 knots, heading 112 degrees, are entirely consistent with the Karachi transit route. It is 11.4 nautical miles northeast of the destroyer, well within visual range on this clear morning, moving away from the destroyer on a steady bearing that places it progressively further from the patrol track. The Bridge Watch team is not concerned about it. They should be. Welcome. I'm your host at Navy Legends. Tonight, we are examining the threat that the US Navy's entire surface warfare defensive architecture is least prepared to engage. Not the supersonic missile that comes from a known shore-based launcher. Not the ballistic re-entry vehicle tracked from boost phase. Not the drone swarm that emerges from a known operating area, but the supersonic missile that comes from a contact that your own radar has been tracking as a commercial cargo vessel for the past 2 hours and 27 minutes. Tonight, we are examining the maritime equivalent of a concealed weapon in plain sight, the IRGC's ghost ship doctrine. The employment of a modified commercial vessel as a mobile missile launch platform, capable of firing Khalij Fars supersonic anti-ship missiles while displaying a valid AIS transponder signal and a commercial vessel profile that generates no threat alert on any standard naval radar system. This is a fictional simulation. Every system described is real. Every tactic has a documented basis in IRGC maritime asymmetric warfare doctrine. Let's begin. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy had been developing its ghost ship capability since 2017. When a series of exercises in the Strait of Hormuz demonstrated that the proliferation of commercial satellite AIS tracking had created a strategic intelligence gap for US naval forces. The assumption that a vessel broadcasting a legitimate AIS signal and maintaining a commercially plausible course and speed was, in fact, what its AIS signal claimed it to be. The assumption was operationally convenient. It reduced the cognitive burden on watch teams managing 20 to 30 surface contacts simultaneously. It was also, as the IRGC maritime planners had identified, an exploitable vulnerability. The vessel designated for this operation was not a disguised IRGC patrol boat. It was a genuine commercial cargo ship, 8,400 gross tons, acquired through a front company registered in the Marshall Islands. operated for 14 months as a functioning commercial carrier on Gulf routes to establish a credible operational history in maritime tracking databases. Then modified over 6 weeks at a Bandar Abbas facility in January and February 2026 under the cover of scheduled dry dock maintenance. The modification was specific and contained. The ship's number 3 cargo hold, located amidships, had been converted to house 4 Khalij Fars missile launcher assemblies with hydraulically actuated hatch covers operable from the engine control room. Opening time, 38 seconds. Launcher elevation time, 33 seconds. Total from closed hatches to missiles ready, 71 seconds. The Khalij Fars, Persian Gulf Star, is an Iranian-developed supersonic anti-ship ballistic missile derived from the Fateh 110 short-range ballistic missile family. It has a range of approximately 300 kilometers, a terminal phase velocity of Mach 3.5, a 650-kilogram warhead, and a passive electro-optical/infrared seeker that acquires and tracks ship-sized surface targets in the terminal phase without requiring active radar emissions from the launch platform. The absence of active radar emissions from the launch platform was the key tactical feature. The Khalij Fars could be aimed using a passive targeting solution derived from the ship's own commercial navigation radar, which had been upgraded with a covert targeting interface, and launched without the destroyer's electronic warfare system ever detecting a weapons guidance radar. The cargo vessel had been on its current heading since 3:30 that morning, approaching the patrol area from the northwest on a course that would carry it through the southern edge of the traffic separation lane and past the destroyer's patrol box at a range that, at closest point of approach, would be approximately 9 nautical miles. At 9 nautical miles, the Khalij Fars' passive seeker had acquisition range against a destroyer-sized surface contact in the optical clarity of an April Gulf of Oman morning. At 8:39, 2 minutes before our timestamp, the cargo vessel's engine room crew activated the hydraulic mechanism for hold number 3's hatch covers. The covers opened in 38 seconds. The launcher assemblies elevated in 33 seconds. At 8:40:11, the 4 Khalij Fars missiles were in firing position. The cargo vessel's external profile had not changed. From the destroyer's radar, it remained an 8,400-ton general cargo vessel on a steady bearing at 12 knots. No radar emissions. No change in AIS track. No thermal signature detectable above the background of the vessel's normal engine exhaust. The open cargo hold and elevated launcher assemblies were visible to the naked eye from an aircraft at altitude. But there was no aircraft in the area at 8:40. At 8:41, 4 Khalij Fars missiles launched in a rapid salvo. First round at 8:41, second at 8:41:04, third at 8:41:08, fourth at 8:41:12. The missiles rose from the cargo hold on solid fuel booster motors, arced to an apogee of approximately 8 kilometers, then tipped over into their terminal dive profile. Descending toward the destroyer's position at Mach 3.5, their passive electro-optical seekers acquiring the destroyer's hull silhouette against the morning sea at a range of 9.1 nautical miles from launch. Time of flight from launch to impact at 9.1 nautical miles. Approximately 47 seconds per round, the destroyer's SPY-6 radar detected the 4 Khalij Fars missiles at 8:41:03, 3 seconds after the first launch. As they cleared their booster apogee and the radar's horizon masked them, the track data was immediate and unambiguous. 4 supersonic ballistic contacts, descending inbound bearing, 036 degrees, range 8.7 nautical miles, speed Mach 3.4, altitude decreasing from 7,400 meters, 44 seconds to impact on the first round. The tactical action officer in the Combat Information Center had the track data at 084104 and called weapons free in 2.1 seconds. His next call, simultaneous with the weapons free authorization, identified the launch origin bearing. He cross-referenced the bearing with the surface track picture. Bearing 036 degrees. The cargo vessel was at bearing 034 degrees. Bridge, combat. Launch origin is the commercial contact bearing 034. That ship fired on us. All ahead flank, hard right rudder, countermeasures away. The SM-2, Block 3B engagement began at 084109, 9 seconds after the first launch, 35 seconds before first round impact. 4 SM-2s left the VLS in a 6-second sequence, 1 assigned to each inbound Khalij Fars. The engagement geometry was extremely demanding. Mach 3.5 terminal velocity on a steep descent profile against an SM-2 engagement system that had been designed for sea-skimming cruise missiles and aircraft, not for steeply diving supersonic ballistic contacts. The SM-2's SPG 62 fire control radar was slewing hard to acquire 4 simultaneous targets arriving from the same bearing at nearly identical speeds and closing at approximately 1,200 meters per second. The first SM-2 acquired the lead Khalij Fars at 084119 and guided to detonation at a range of 3.8 nautical miles from the ship. The Khalij Fars' 650 kilogram warhead section, already separated from the spent booster, absorbed the SM-2's Mk-137 fragmentation pattern. The warhead casing was penetrated but did not detonate. The warhead section tumbled off its trajectory and impacted the water 1.2 nautical miles short of the ship. First round, neutralized. The second SM-2 engaged the second Khalij Fars at 084123. Direct proximity detonation. Second round, neutralized. The third SM-2 missed. The Khalij Fars it was tracking had executed a terminal maneuver, a 4-degree azimuth correction generated by the passive seeker tracking the destroyer's hull as the ship turned hard to starboard in its evasive maneuver. The SM-2's guidance system had been computing an intercept point based on the missile's pre-maneuver trajectory. The 4-degree correction moved the Khalij Fars 340 meters laterally at the intercept point. The SM-2 passed 340 meters ahead of the target and detonated on proximity fuse with no effect on the Khalij Fars. The backup SM-2, the second round assigned to the same track, had been fired 2.4 seconds behind the first. Its guidance had updated against the post-maneuver trajectory. It acquired detonation at 1.9 nautical miles from the ship. Third round, neutralized. The fourth Khalij Fars was now 1.4 nautical miles from the ship and descending at Mach 3.0, the terminal velocity having reduced slightly from aerodynamic drag in the lower atmosphere. The SM-2 assigned to it had been fired last in the sequence and was still in mid-flight guidance. It acquired the fourth Khalij Fars at 084131 and computed an intercept solution. The intercept solution required the SM-2 to execute a maximum G-turn to close the lateral offset between its current trajectory and the Khalij Fars' dive path. The SM-2's airframe is rated for 25 Gs. The required turn was 28 grams. The missile's guidance system commanded the full 28 Gs. The airframe held for 0.4 seconds before a fin attachment point failed under the structural loading. The SM-2 lost aerodynamic control and veered off its intercept course. No interceptor between the fourth Khalij Fars and the ship. The Phalanx CIWS, Block 1B, 20mm M61A, 1 Vulcan cannon, 4,500 rounds per minute, acquired the fourth Khalij Fars at 084134 at a range of 0.9 nautical miles. Tracking a Mach 3.0 contact descending at 60 degrees from the vertical. The CIWS had 1.8 seconds of engagement time before the missile reached the ship. The CIWS fired 340 rounds in 1.1 seconds. The burst walked across the Khalij Fars' descent path and achieved multiple hits on the missile's body section. The 650 kilogram warhead section separated from the missile body under the impact stress at 0841 35.8, 0.7 seconds before the original impact point. The warhead section, now unguided, impacted the water 31 meters off the destroyer's starboard bow at 0841 36.4. The warhead detonated on water contact. The explosion at 31 meters produced a pressure wave that struck the destroyer's starboard bow with a force that structural engineers would later calculate as equivalent to a 2.1 magnitude seismic event applied to the hull. The ship shuddered its entire 155-meter length. The pressure wave collapsed the forward equipment space's port bulkhead, a non-structural dividing wall between two maintenance spaces. A high-pressure steam line in the forward engine room ruptured at a flange fitting that had absorbed the shock loading. The rupture produced a jet of 340-degree steam that swept through a 4-meter section of the forward engine room passageway before the automated steam isolation valve closed at 0841:39, 2.6 seconds after the detonation. 4 engineering personnel in the forward engine room sustained steam burn injuries. 1 critical, requiring immediate medical intervention by the ship's independent duty corpsman and the medical officer. 3 serious, but not immediately life-threatening. All 4 were evacuated from the engine room within 90 seconds by damage control teams who reached the space through the emergency access trunk. The ship's propulsion was unaffected. The steam rupture was upstream of the main engines, and the automated isolation had contained the casualty. The SPY-6 radar was operational. The VLS had 14 SM, 2 rounds expended, 34 remaining. The ship was maneuvering at 29 knots on its evasive heading. The commanding officer had been in the Combat Information Center since 0841:06. His first call after the detonation, at 8:41:48, was to CENTCOM on the emergency net. His second call, at 8:41:52, was to the Tactical Action Officer. "I want that ship engaged. Full authorization request up the chain." The authorization request reached CENTCOM at 8:42:11. The cargo vessel, which had closed its cargo hatches within 40 seconds of the final launch and had resumed its 12-knot heading on course 112 degrees as if nothing had occurred, was still displaying its Marshall Islands AIS transponder signal. It was, to the Commercial Maritime Tracking System, still a general cargo vessel en route to Karachi. CENTCOM granted engagement authorization at 0847:33, 6 minutes and 33 seconds after the Khalij Fars salvo. The authorization covered the launch vessel and any IRGC assets that moved to support it. The destroyer's commanding officer had not waited for the authorization to begin his strike preparation. At 8:43, he had directed his fire control team to establish a Harpoon Block 2 engagement solution on the cargo vessel, and had vectored the ship's SH-60B helicopter, which had been airborne on a standard surface surveillance mission 8 nautical miles to the south, to close the cargo vessel and provide positive visual identification and battle damage assessment. At 8:47:41, 8 seconds after authorization, 2 Harpoon Block 2 anti-ship missiles left the destroyer's deck-mounted launchers on bearing 036 degrees. The Harpoon's active radar seeker acquired the 8,400-ton cargo vessel at a range of 8.2 nautical miles and guided to impact. First Harpoon impact, 8:48:19. The 221-kilogram blast fragmentation warhead detonated in the cargo vessel's engine room section, penetrating the hull at the waterline on the starboard side and producing flooding that began at an uncontrollable rate immediately. The vessel slowed to 4 knots as its propulsion failed. Second Harpoon impact, 8:48:23. The second round seeker had acquired the same vessel at a slightly different aspect angle, impacting the cargo hold area amidships, the same hold from which the Khalij Fars missiles had been fired. The detonation in the now empty hold produced a structural collapse of the hold's internal frames and secondary fires from the vessel's fuel systems. The cargo vessel, its keel broken by the combined structural damage of 2 Harpoon impacts within 4 seconds, began sinking at 8:48:30. It went below the surface at 9:11:44, 23 minutes and 4 seconds after it sank from sight on the radar. The SH-60B, circling at 400 feet, observed the sinking and transmitted continuous imagery to the destroyer and to CENTCOM. The imagery was released publicly within 6 hours of the engagement, providing visual documentation of the vessel's Khalij Fars launcher infrastructure. The hydraulic hatch mechanisms, the launcher rail assemblies, and the debris of 2 unfired missile canister assemblies that had been dislodged from their mounts by the second Harpoon impact and were visible on the vessel's listing deck in the final minutes before it sank. The release of the imagery was the most consequential action of the entire engagement. It eliminated, visually and publicly, the deniability architecture that the IRGC ghost ship doctrine depended on, the vessel's Marshall Islands flag, its Karachi cargo manifest, its 14-month commercial history, its valid AIS signal at the moment of firing, all rendered irrelevant by imagery of launcher rails and hydraulic hatch mechanisms visible on a sinking ship. Iran's foreign ministry denied involvement, characterizing the US strike as piracy against a commercial vessel. The statement did not engage with the launcher hardware visible in the imagery. The Marshall Islands Maritime Administrator confirmed within 49 minutes of the engagement that the vessel's registration had been obtained with falsified ownership documentation. A conclusion reached after a CENTCOM liaison officer provided the vessel's IMO number within minutes of the attack. The after-action review conducted by CENTCOM and Pacific Fleet produced 4 findings that would drive immediate changes to surface warfare doctrine in the Gulf of Oman. The first was the AIS trust gap. The destroyer's watch team had tracked the vessel for 2 hours and 27 minutes as a routine commercial contact, because its AIS signal was consistent and its behavior was commercially plausible. No procedure existed for elevating the threat classification of a commercial contact solely on the basis of its proximity to a US naval vessel's patrol track. The review directed the immediate implementation of a proximity-based escalated surveillance protocol. Any commercial contact closing to within 15 nautical miles of a US surface combatant in the Gulf of Oman or Persian Gulf was to receive active electronic and passive optical surveillance at a level equivalent to a designated surface track of interest, regardless of AIS status. The second was the Khalij Fars terminal maneuver gap. The 4-degree terminal correction that defeated the third SM-2 engagement was assessed as a seeker-driven correction. The passive electro-optical seeker had tracked the destroyer's hull as it turned in its evasive maneuver and had generated a guidance correction that the SM-2's pre-computed intercept solution had not anticipated. Future Aegis engagement software updates needed to incorporate a terminal maneuver prediction capability for the Khalij Fars family specifically. The third was the SM-2 structural limit gap. The fourth, SM-2's fin attachment failure at 28G against a required 28G intercept maneuver, had been, in the most precise engineering sense, a structural failure at the system's rated performance boundary, the SM-2. Block 3B airframe's rated 25G SHA limit was insufficient for the engagement geometry presented by a steeply diving Mach 3.0 contact at close range. The SM-6, with its higher maneuver authority and greater structural margin, was assessed as the preferred interceptor for Khalij Fars engagement geometries. Future VLS loading for Gulf of Oman patrol assignments was directed to include a minimum of 8 SM-6 rounds, specifically for the Khalij Fars threat axis. The fourth finding was the commercial vessel modification detection gap. The 6-week conversion of the cargo vessel at Bandar Abbas had not been detected by any US or Allied intelligence collection asset, despite the facility being a known IRGC Navy maintenance location. The combination of commercial cover, dry dock maintenance is routine at any cargo facility, and the internal nature of the modification had prevented detection by the satellite imagery collection that monitored Iranian naval facilities. The intelligence community directed a comprehensive review of all commercial vessels with documented connections to Iranian-associated front companies that had undergone unexplained maintenance periods of 4 weeks or more in the preceding 24 months. The review identified 11 additional vessels of potential concern. This is what Navy Legends has been examining across every scenario in this series. The systematic, patient, methodical exploitation of the assumptions that make large-scale naval operations manageable. The assumption that a valid AIS signal means a commercial vessel. The assumption that 14 months of legitimate commercial operations means legitimate intent. The assumption that a vessel moving away from your patrol track on a steady bearing represents a decreasing threat. The Khalij Fars had not come from a known launch site. It had not come from an IRGC patrol boat that any watch team would have tracked as a threat. It had come from a contact that the destroyer's own radar had been passively monitoring for 2 hours and 27 minutes and had classified on 14 separate radar track update cycles as non-threatening. 4 seriously injured sailors and a 31-meter miss distance are the cost of that classification. The ghost ship is not a new concept. The Japanese deployed explosive-laden vessels in World War II. The IRA used commercial vehicles as concealed weapon platforms for decades. The IRGC has studied every historical employment of disguised attack platforms and built a doctrine updated for the AIS age, where a valid transponder signal is the most effective camouflage a weapon system can carry. The counter is not a better radar. It is a different assumption that in a contested maritime environment, commercial plausibility is not the same as commercial innocence. The distance between those two things can be measured on an April morning in the Gulf of Oman in exactly 31 meters. Stay informed. Stay vigilant. I'll see you in the next one.